Hello friends, happy Thursday. My name's Jana and thank you for stopping by my channel today. Sorry I'm not live as usual, but we're still here, so all is good. You'll have to excuse my inky fingers today. I have been playing and making clusters, and so today I am going to be doing a cluster, something a little different than a card. And if you're wondering what a cluster is or what you use it for, well, they are perfect to just have on hand to make a quick card with, or they are wonderful for journals. You can pop them onto a tag. You will end up finding all kinds of uses for clusters once you get them made, and they're a little bit addictive to make, so lots of fun. All right, so I am going to be using Stampin' Up! Products. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I will put the information in the description box below if you're interested in shopping with me, if you don't already have a demonstrator. So the first product that I'm going to use here is the Fern 3D embossing folder, and this is what it looks like. And I'm using some seafoam green cardstock, so I'm just going to pop this in here, and I'm going to run it through my machine real quick. Alrighty, so here we go, and that is what that looks like. I don't think the pretty seafoam green color is coming across quite right. It looks a little bit lighter. And since I'm filming this ahead of time, I don't have my iPad in here to see how things look, so hopefully I will stay in the screen here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, and you totally, do things the way you like them, but I'm going to tear the edges. I'm only going to use part of this, and I think I'll tear it this way. Now, when you tear towards you like I'm doing right now, you get that really rustic edge there. If you tear the other way, like let me just tear this piece, you still get the rustic edge, but you don't get that sort of feathery piece. There it is on the other side. So tearing towards you is how I like to do it. I like that really feathered edge of the paper. Okay, so there we go. I'll save the rest of that for something else. And let me just keep on tearing here because I want all four edges to be torn. And if you don't like it as jagged as I'm doing, you can always lay a ruler down and tear your paper against that. It'll give you a little bit of a straighter edge and not as jagged and rough as what I've got going on here. Okay, so that is going to be the base piece of my cluster. And what I'm going to do now is grab one of my little finger daubers here. I'm going to use Old Olive. Let me find the right one. There it is. Okay, so I've got my finger dauber. You can use a sponge. You can use a blending brush. However, if you use a blending brush, it's going to get down more into the crevices, and I wanted the lightness of the paper to still show through in the background. So I'm just going to lightly go across the raised areas of the paper. And yes, it will pick up some behind it, but not as if I was using a blending brush. And you just want to go with a pretty light touch just to catch the raised areas of that where the embossing folder embossed. And it really then brings out the design of whatever embossing folder you're using. I liked the leaves in this one because it goes along with what I'm going to be doing here. Okay, and then I'm also going to go around the outside edges. I think it just gives it a little bit more of a finished look, but you know, it's totally all in what you like. And it really picks up that torn edge there too. All right, so there is that already. And we'll set that aside. Okay, next, let me grab a piece of very vanilla cardstock here. I've just got a little piece, and I am going to bring in my Misty. And I'm going to use this flower stamp here from Inspirational Sketches. This is the set I've mainly been playing with. So it's got this really cute bird, the mushrooms, the flower, kind of a background stamp there, and then some really nice sentiments. And this is a red rubber cling mounted stamp set. All right. Okay, so I am going to ink that up with Memento Tuxedo Black. And I'm going to go ahead and do it a second time here. You know what? I should have taken the foam pad out from underneath of this. That's fine. I'm not going to push down and stamp it any harder. When you use the red rubber stamps, you're supposed to take out the foam pad, and I forgot to do that. For the clear stamps, you leave it in there. I remembered to wet up my scrubby today so I could use it. It comes in so handy when you've got stamps mounted in your stamping platform, whichever one you like to use. And these are for sale in the catalog. They look much prettier when you get them new. They're more of a lavender color like that instead of the black one that mine looks like now, but trust me, it's all stained up. I just washed it out, and that is there to stay. But it doesn't affect the way it works. There we go. All right. So I think I will just color up the middles of these flowers first. And I have got the light and dark pecan pie, and then I've also got number 200 here. So I'm going to start with the light pecan pie and just color in the centers of these flowers. I have no idea what kind of flowers these are, but today I'm making kind of a lavender purple. I think they can be whatever color you want them to be. So then I'm just going to go in the already shadowed areas with the darker pecan pie. And then I'm going to take this number 200 and just go in right in the deepest part here and just add a little bit more dimension there. And then I think I'll come back with my lightest pecan pie here and kind of blend that in. Okay, so we're done with the centers. Let me grab my greens and we'll do the leaves. I'm using dark granny apple green and dark old olive. And I'm not going to do anything too fancy with my leaves here. The leaves and the stems. Other than just color them. There's so much detail in this stamp already that you could just do straight coloring, whatever medium you like to color with, and they're going to turn out pretty. And in some cases, sometimes I'm not real sure what's supposed to be a leaf and what is a petal. So I just do my best with what looks like leaves to me because they have the veins in them. This looks like a big leaf to me. And I got some green into my flower petal there that I didn't want, so I'm going to have to see, this kind of looks like a leaf here to me too. So I'm going to go ahead and make that green. And maybe this under here. And then there's some shadowing in there too. All right, I'm going to stop with that, and I'm going to grab my blender and get rid of the green there where I didn't want it. As best as I can anyway. If I can at least just make it lighter, then I think when I do my purple, it'll be all right. I got some in there. I should have just used the fine point instead of the brush point when I was coloring. Okay, I think what I will do is just come back to those. I'll let them dry, and they'll fade too as it dries. And then I'll come back to it if I need to. All right. Oh, I didn't do the darker bits yet, so let me just come in and do that. I'm not going to get too carried away. I'm just going to add a little bit of shading. Hopefully I am staying in your view here. I'm going to try to be careful not to go outside of the lines. All right. I'm going to go back in and add color in there anyway, so I really don't need to worry about it too much. Okay, let's get on with the flowers. So I've grabbed the light and dark Highland Heather, those two, and then this one here is light Blackberry Bliss. All right, let's make some purple flowers. Don't go to sleep on me now. I'm only saying that because that's what happens to me. I start watching a video that I'm really interested in, and it's so relaxing to me to be watching something that I enjoy so much, and then I fall asleep. Then I wake up to some other video playing, and it's like, oh my goodness, now I've got to go back and watch it again. Ooh, I'm really liking the purples. Very pretty. I always think it's funny that Stampin' Up! Doesn't have the blends for Gorgeous Grape. I really think we need that. We have had other purple colors, but they've retired. I still use them, but when I'm doing these videos, I I like to use stuff that's current so that if you want it, you'll be able to find it. Now, sometimes I will use my retired stuff, but because I have it, and I know that a lot of you have those same products, and it's like, go ahead and use them because people have them. They're still going to use them. Just because they're retired doesn't mean they're no good anymore. Okay, so there we go. We're getting a good start on it here. Let me come in with the dark Highland Heather and just do a little bit of fun here. And I'm really just going in and shading where the lines already are telling me that that's where the shading needs to be. I think these stamps are part of the distinctive line. I don't know if it says that on here. It does not. But the ones that have all these shading, all the shading like these do, are part of what they call distinctive. So the artist, whoever designed the stamps, did all of that work for us. So you know right where the shading goes. And if you don't want to come back in and do any shading yourself, you really don't have to, because it's going to look pretty either way. And I'm certainly no expert colorer. I've mentioned that many times. I just play with it and have fun. You know, it's got to be fun to me and not be stressful. So I prefer to just keep it fun and not trying to make something perfect. I really do like the alcohol markers though, because you can blend the colors and you don't have to really worry so much about, you know, lines showing up and stuff like with regular water-based markers. But what I do enjoy using the water-based markers for, one of the things anyway, is you can color directly to your stamps with those. And so that's always a fun technique to use those markers for. Okay, now let me come in with just a little bit of this Blackberry Bliss. And I'm just going to go in a little bit right down at the base of the petals. Maybe along some of the edges. And then I will take my lighter marker and come back in and blend that out. If you like to watch TV, have you watched, it was on last night, it's a new game show called The 1%. I really like it. It's like they have 100 contestants on there, and they have sent out these questions to, I think people just in the US, but I forget how many people they've asked that they've quizzed these questions to. And so then it's the same questions that the people that are on this show get asked. And if you miss one, just one, you're out. And it just keeps going until they ask a certain number of questions. I can't remember if it's 10 questions. And the pot can build up to $100,000. So they're all given $1,000 in the beginning. If they miss a question, that goes into the pot of money that the winner gets at the end. And there's some other things along the way. They can decide to just quit at one point and take their $1,000 and leave. Or they can, towards the end, they can take what they offer is a lifeline, and you can just give up your $1,000 and stay in the game. But as soon as you miss a question, still you're out, and that $1,000 also goes into the pot of money. But I think it's fun because I like to see how many of the questions I actually can get right. And so if you make it all the way to the end and answer the 1% question, you are in only 1% of the people that were quizzed that got it right. It got down to just one person last night, and she missed the very last one, so I think she left there with, I don't know if she had given up her $1,000 along the way or not, but if she didn't, then she left there with her $1,000 and that was it. But the pot was $99,000. And I'm going to guess she had given up her $1,000 because I think there was one person that kept their $1,000 and left the game last night. So that would make the pot $99,000. So she must have given up her money along the way. All right. I think that looks pretty good. And I can see I went out of the line over here. I'm going to cut this out anyway, but let's just try to get rid of that anyway. Ooh, I just think those turned out kind of pretty. All right. So now I'm going to cut them out. And I'm not cutting all the way to the edge, but pretty darn close. I don't want a light colored edge around there, so I'm going to be going back and inking around it. But that's why I went with the very vanilla instead of white, because it's just that little bit of color. It kind of helps to not be as bright. There isn't a die set for this stamp set. But even if there was, I don't know with what I'm making today that I would use the die set because it always leaves that bigger border. Yeah, so that's a fun game show, the 1%. And it's hosted by, I can't remember the guy's real name because I just remember him as Spencer on the Seinfeld show. So I just want to call him Spencer. I hope you're all having a decent start to the summer. I know some people are just having really horribly hot weather already. I can't say that for where I'm at here on the Oregon coast. In fact, I had the heat on in my room here, my stamp room. I didn't turn it on in the rest of the house today, but over the last few days I've had to have it on. Today the sun actually came out, which is nice. Yesterday it was just white sky all day. So when it's like that, I have to go ahead and warm up the house because the sun doesn't come out to do it for me. So all right, there we go. So now I've got my little finger dauber for pecan pie. And I'm just going to go around and get rid of those white edges, or very vanilla edges. And then I'm just going to go in where those spots are in the background and shadow them up here. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's bring back the base piece, and I've got the flowers. So now I am going to use a piece of old book paper here. Make sure there's no weird words on it, even though it's just a book that I wouldn't think would have anything. Sometimes you end up finding something that it's like, oh, I didn't know that word was in there. And I'm just going to tear the edges. I like the old book paper because it's got that yellowed look to it. And I just mostly find at the Goodwill. Look for my book paper there. Get an old book, one that you don't care about tearing up. Okay, so there is that. I'm going to come back with my pecan pie, and I might have enough ink on here that I don't need to worry about re-inking it. We'll see how far I get. And then I'm just going to yellow it up a little bit more here, age it up a little bit more. Good enough. Okay, so I didn't want to stay within the borders of my background piece. I like to have some stuff hanging off. So I'm just kind of laying it out here to see where I want that to go. Now I'm going to have a little more fun here. I'm bringing in the new Keeping Tabs set, and I'm going to use this pretty one here with the little leaves and flowers on it. So this is a really fun set, and you can put it in a bundle. Bundles are an extra 10% off this month, so keep that in mind if you bundle it with a die. Now this one you can bundle with a punch also. And maybe it is all bundles. I can't remember if the ones with punches are included, but I know for sure the one with a die is included. So you can get this set and one other either way, with a die to go with it that cuts out the tabs, or the punch. And I have the punch. That's what I'll be using today. And so I have another little scrap of the Very Vanilla. Let me just grab a block here. And sorry about that. I'm going to use Versamark. So Versamark is a clear, you can use it to make a watermark on something, you know, where it just darkens up your colored cardstock, a darker shade than whatever color it already is. But it's also an embossing ink. It's a wet ink pigment, so you can use it to heat emboss, and that is what I'm going to do today. It's a sticky ink, and so it holds the embossing powder. Oops, I don't want white. I want gold. I don't think white would show up very well. All right. And then you need a heat tool. A hair dryer does not work for this. Actually, when I first learned to heat emboss, we didn't have heat tools. So I learned how to do it by turning an iron, a clothes iron, upside down into a bread pan. And then you laid your paper onto the iron. I think we had it on a fairly low heat. And you just kind of held it in place on the iron with a stylus or something. You could use a spoon, whatever you had, until the embossing powder melted from the back side. And then my husband had the idea of bringing me home a paint stripping gun, which is kind of like a heat tool on a more extreme level. And I did use that for a while until they finally came out with a heat tool. Okay, so slide this in here. There we go. And line it up. That looks pretty good. Okay. There we go. And then I'm going to bring back, I think I'm going to need to ink this up a little bit more. Now this side here, you can stamp a word in there or a sentiment, whatever you like. But I'm going to have it on the back of my little cluster today, so I'm not really worried about that. Now these clusters, you can always slip them into a pocket in a journal or something, but usually with clusters, I think mostly they're glued down, typically. Okay, let me just see how I want to do this, where I want everything to go. Okay, so the first thing, let's see, do I want my paper down first? I don't think it's going to be in the way, so I'm going to go ahead and glue my little tab down first. So I'm just holding it in place where I know I want it, and I'm going to put the glue on the back side of this tab first. And go ahead and put it like that, and then let me flip it over here and get glue on this side. And then I just want to line it up, make sure that everything's matching there, the front and the back. And you might be saying, why is she putting a tab on it? Just because? Because I like it there. Just part of the decoration. Okay, so now, and that's kind of the point of a cluster. You're just clustering a bunch of things together the way you like them in a collage type form. And it just all comes together in a fun way. All right. Now I want that hanging off the edge a little bit, and that's why I had my finger kind of where I had it, so I knew that I didn't really need to put glue all the way over there. Okay, and then this is going to go on there, but before that goes on there, I'm going to grab some cheesecloth, and I'm just going to cut off, find me a piece where it's not folded up. I'm just going to cut off a chunk of this. Let's see, do I have 2 layers there? It's folded over there a bit, so I don't want that. I think that's big enough. All right. Now let me bring in my scrappy paper here. I'm just going to lay it on here and grab my pecan pie again. My finger dauber. And I'm going to ink this up because I want it to be a different color. Okay. see how I want this on here. All right, I'm liking that, so I'm just going to pull this back and put a little bit of glue here to keep it from running away. Okay, so that can set there for a second. And I'm just going to grab some of these dimensionals that it's using up the edge pieces still. I always like it when I get them all used up because then I can get a fresh sheet of them out. And let me just stick one in the middle there. Since the sun is shining tonight, I think my husband and I are going to grab some food from somewhere and go sit at the jetty and eat our dinner there. I always like to do that when it's a nice day and boats are coming and going usually, and the sea lions are out there, and it's just kind of enjoyable. Okay, so I'm just sticking some glue on here too, since I've got that cheesecloth on there. It's going to give me the dimension from the dimensionals, and then, you know, the glue just will help it all stay put where I want it to be. So let's see, I'm going to put it right here. And I like all the stringy bits just being wonky up there. Okay, so there is that. Now then, I want a word up here. I've got words on here. There's words in here, but they're a bit too big. And then I've got this set, the Choose Happy, that's got a bunch of fun words. So I just need to decide which word I want to put on there. I kind of like dreams. I think I'm going to do dreams. Okay. And I just need to find it on here. There it is. I found it. And for that, I'm going to use one of my leftover strips of black. Don't you guys get a lot of leftover strips? And I've got a bag full of leftover strips and just pieces of this and that, all in white and black. So I keep all of that, and it comes in so handy when you just need a little strip for this, that, or the other. Okay, so I just put some powder on there, and I'm going to use my Versamark again. And I'm going to heat emboss this in white. I probably should have I haven't used this stamp yet, and I like to just kind of rub it onto a piece of scrap paper to get any film that might be on it off, so that it will stamp better. All right. Let me see if I can get this on here fairly straight without being right over the top of it. I think I did an okay job. We'll see once the powder gets on there. I think I can just dip it because it's not a very big design. Okay, let me take my scissors and see if I can get these stray little pieces off. Even though I put powder on there, there's still a few strays. All right. Oh, there was one little piece on there that I didn't get off, but maybe. I don't know if it'll trim off. It might. Okay. Now, where do I want to put it, I think? I think since my paper there is at a slant, I'm going to just put it straight. Okay, there you have it. That is my cluster. Now, you can always come back and add like embellishments on it if you wanted. Let me show you the others I made. I'm going to get the pen back in my glue here. And I used the same, that stamp set for all of them. Okay, so here's the first one I made, the little bird. And I put a little bit of glossy on the eyeball there. And I love that bird because you can, again, make it whatever color of bird you want. There it is there. And these images are shown at 90%, so that's why the bird looks a little bit bigger. And I had to put music paper on with that one because he was chirping a little happy tune. So there's the bird. And here's the mushrooms. I put the cheesecloth and some string. I have all this thread, sorry, not string, thread that was my mom's. So I've got a whole thing of pretty much every color. So I put string, thread and cheesecloth on the mushroom. And then here is another flower one. I put Hello Friend on it, and I did the flowers in a more pink kind of color. So there are 4 clusters ready to go. Those, like I said, they can be just put into a journal. They can be attached onto a card for a really quick and easy card. You could take your card base, maybe put some patterned paper, something simple in the background, and then stick your cluster on there, just maybe down in the corner. You could put it right in the center and, you know, have a very quick and easy card that way. You can put it on a tag, turn it into a tag and do that. So lots of fun things you could do. You could just stick it on another piece of card and use it to slip into a pocket into a journal that way too. So very fun. All right, story time. This is The Artistic Cat Praise Poems and Paintings, and we're getting closer to the end each time. I saw the most beautiful cat today. It was sitting by the side of the road, its two front feet neatly and graciously together. Then it gravely swished around its tail to completely and snugly encircle itself. It was so fit and beautifully neat, that gesture, and so self-satisfied, so complacent. And that was by Anne Morrow Lindbergh, an American aviator and writer. And this painting here is called The Face at the Window by Fanny Moody. It almost just looks like a photograph. Really cute. If you say hallelujah to a cat, it will excite no fixed set of fibers in connection with any other set, and the cat will exhibit none of the phenomena of consciousness. But if you say meat, the cat will be there in a moment. Samuel Butler, an English writer. Oh boy, there's a word I don't know. Balanchine has trained his cat to perform brilliant, words in French. Jetés and tours, and I'm not even going to guess. I can't say him. He says that at last he has a body worth choreographing for. Bernard Taper, American writer. They need to just put words in here I can say. When she walked, she stretched out long and thin like a little tiger and held her head high to look over the grass as if she were threading the jungle. Sarah Orne Jewett, an American writer, and here is a painting by R.P. Thrall called Minnie from the Outskirts of the Village. That cat has an interesting face. Let's read one more. She is sprightly cat, hardly past her youth. She darts out a paw and begins plucking it and inquiring into the matter as if it were a challenge to play or something lively enough to be eaten. What a graceful action of that foot of hers between delicacy and petulance, combining something of a thrust out, a beat, and a scratch. And that is by Leigh Hunt, English writer and poet. And here's another cute painting of a Jack Russell and a Persian cat by F. Rutherford. All right, we'll stop with that for today. Don't forget about the bundle savings, 10% off. That's till the end of the month. And also on the cut and die machines. Those are 10% off. And I think that's about all I have to tell you. I hope that you will give clusters a try if you haven't already and find whatever use for them that makes you happy. Have a great weekend ahead, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care, and thanks for stopping by. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Bye-bye.